Hello and welcome to a brand new movie review for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 from the Nerdpocalypse podcast. I'm your host, Jay. I'm here with my co-host, Micah.
Hey.
All right, guys, we're back. Obviously, this is on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which is the newest release from Marvel Cinematic, or in the Marvel Cinematic Universe from Marvel Studios.
So we're saving the galaxy again?
Who else is gonna do it?
Awesome!
Hit me.
So this is kind of our first real formal review that we're doing, and we're going to do a series of these as big movies come out. Obviously, you can listen to our podcast, The Nerdpocalypse, at thenerdpocalypse.com, or you can also subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, that sort of thing as well. So we'll do our out of 5 scores first, and then we'll sort of have a free-form talk. There'll be no spoilers, just a general review of the movie. And our thoughts. Micah, what score would you give it out of 5?
I would probably give this a 3.5, maybe.
Okay.
I enjoy this movie a lot. Mm-hmm. I did not think it was... I didn't enjoy it as much as the first one, because the first one was kind of a complete and utter surprise.
Right, exactly.
But this movie is very different from the first one. Whereas the first one was this... space adventure with these cool people. This movie is very, very character focused, and you delve deep into what makes a lot of these characters tick. You kind of got the sense of it in the first movie,
right? But
they really go all in on who these people are and why you should care about them.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Like I said, man, I really enjoyed it. Performances were great. The story was a little all over the place, especially towards the end, during the third act, where there's a lot of things going on, and it wasn't difficult to keep track of everything, but you have to kind of keep track of everything.
Right.
And that's given the nature of the third act, the circumstances within the story.
Yeah, it's supposed to be complex, basically.
Yeah, but I dug it, man. I really did. It was hilarious. It got me in the feels.
Yeah, a couple times.
Man. Yeah. I was incredibly surprised by that. Guardians still, to me, tends to be the Marvel movies that kind of, like, they're different, but they're different in a positive way. Mm-hmm. They're like a nice palate cleanser for all the other Marvel movies that are so intertwined with one another.
Yeah, I agree with that. So 3.5 out of 5.
Yeah, 3.5.
So for me, I'd probably go a 4 out of 5. I think I gave the original one a 4.5. I think. So I'd probably go a 4 out of 5. A lot for the same reasons that you're saying. One, I thought it was hilarious. Like that. The dynamic that James Gunn, the writer-director, sort of brings to those characters is still there. Like, those things still work. They do rely on some things that, like, worked in the first one, that they're kind of like, it's like the greatest hits kind of thing, right? Like, and you can't help that in a sequel, because there are things that just people enjoy. So, you got to do, the crowd-pleasing stuff, which I totally understand. I agree with you. Like, the story is a little bit more muddled than the first one. Where the first one was a pretty tight story, and you were like, boom, 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 I know exactly what's happening. This all makes sense. This one was far more... It was a little bit more all over the place. And because it's got a lot more balls in the air. There is the team dynamic, the individuals, their dynamics, these new characters that are introduced and their dynamics, and how their dynamics deal with the team dynamic and the individual, teams. So, and then, like, the movie is kind of split, which is like kind of a classic sequel thing. They kind of split the story between dealing with Star-Lord, Chris Pratt's character, and him meeting his father, Kurt Russell, who plays Ego. And that's a story in and of itself. There's a story of Nebula and Gamora them sort of dealing with each other. That's a story in and of itself. And then there is Rocket and the Ravagers and Yondu. That's a story in and of itself. And those three stories are like pretty well split up in the movie. So I thought that was kind of an interesting take instead of sort of the big family dynamic. But much like the Fast and Furious movies, like this is a pretty family centered movie. Like that is the overall theme, which is an interesting way in how it plays out. Obviously, we're not going to talk spoilers. We'll do that on the podcast next week. So again, subscribe to the podcast and listen to that. But I thought those sort of like back and forth and things made it a little bit more complicated, and I appreciated that they tried it because it is a more personal story.
Yeah.
And like
as a matter of fact, it's such a personal story that yes, they do save the galaxy in the end, but
that's not the big point.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Like that, it doesn't feel it. The saving the galaxy part just seems like an afterthought. Like we have to deal with a situation, and oh yeah, by the way, us trying to resolve this situation will save the galaxy. Like it wasn't.
It's tacked on.
Right.
Which, and I don't think you mean that in a negative way.
No, not a negative way. It's just different. Like it's something because you know what, they did the story where hey, we all have to come and save the galaxy
directly at the
point,
thing.
Right?
Exactly.
Saving the galaxy wasn't the point in this, but that's fine because the story that they told was, like I said, man, it was touching at parts.
Yeah, I mean, there is, and I obviously again I won't get in spoilers, but I know what part you're talking about. That like you're like, something wrong with my heart. Like, why does it hurt? Like, there's a moment in the movie where when you see the film, it goes worldwide on Friday. When you see the film, like you really do like that. There's no way you don't know the scene we're talking about, right? Like it is that obvious. So I just want to quickly, kind of go over like what are your high points? Like so like Mantis was introduced in this film, who is a classic Guardians character. I liked her. I thought she was really great. She was a fun character. I don't remember the actress's name.
Pom. It's something odd because she's like French Canadian.
Yeah, it's like Klementieff or something like.
Yeah.
So I know I'm probably butchering it, but I really liked her, and I liked her dynamic inside the group.
Yeah.
It was very good. Her relationship with Drax, I thought, was hilarious.
Her relationship with Drax is the fourth story, and that's the comic relief.
Yeah,
and it was hilarious. Look, Bautista, like he took the ball and ran with it in this movie. Like he's
really nailing it.
People enjoyed Drax and his very matter of fact, I don't know what a metaphor is type of style.
Right.
He does that and more. He's the comedy, whereas the comedy was a little more spread out in the first one.
Yeah.
He's where the comedy he is the comedy.
Yeah.
And it was great. Rocket, Rocket has this he's such an interesting character because I feel sympathy for him, like complete and utter sympathy for him, but he's an ass.
Yeah, no, he's a bastard.
Right.
Like he's a bastard.
Yeah. And he really got to shine in this because in the first one, he was with Groot, and Groot, while Groot doesn't communicate, the normal way, Rocket knew what he was saying, and he's kind of playing off of him.
It's the Han Solo Chewie dynamic. Basically.
But imagine the Han Solo Chewie thing, but Chewie is a baby, like a toddler.
Right.
And it's even more difficult to convey information to him, right? So it makes his character have to step up a bit. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't have Groot to lean on in this movie.
That's true. That's absolutely true. He kind of leaves. It does force him to grow as a character and not just be a raccoon with a gun. Like he actually has to have a personality.
And the other big thing for me was one of the characters from the first one is back in this one. And that character is so much more developed and so fully fleshed out that it's like I can't believe it. You know what I mean?
We can talk about it. Are you talking about Yondu?
Yeah, I'm talking about Yondu.
Yeah, like he really is a full character in this.
Yeah,
where he was just a couple of lines.
Yeah.
He was Michael Rooker in Blueface, right? Like he's got a lot more. This is actually probably the most complex I've seen. I can't believe I'm saying this. This is probably the most complex I've seen Michael Rooker as a character in a long time.
Yeah.
He normally plays kind of a racist.
Yeah, like he
was like a
plays,
space racist in the first.
He normally plays like the bigot, like the southern idiot bigot, right? But nah, man, he was completely fully fleshed out, and it was a surprise to me.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Marvel Studios movies always get knocked for having terrible villains. I like the villains in this movie.
I actually did.
Yeah.
I actually thought they were well fleshed out. They gave the villains a chance to shine in some moments.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they set the ground for some other stuff with them, which I appreciated.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like that was the one thing they don't do a lot of times, which is this like one and done kind of thing.
Yeah.
They gave a little bit more space to flesh out, which I appreciated.
Yep.
Trying to think of any other major points before we get out of here. I thought Kurt Russell was really good as Ego.
Man, Kurt Russell is amazing, and because he's kind of playing the Kurt Russell-y kind of role.
Yeah, he's always kind of himself.
Right, but like if you're gonna do that, like be an expert at it. Be an expert at being Kurt Russell. Right. If you're Kurt Russell, and he is an expert at it. He was
like
great, man.
He's like Jeff Goldblum in that way, right? It's like Jeff Goldblum is never playing a character he's been assigned. He's just playing
Jeff Goldblum in the situation.
In that situation, right?
Yeah. And
he's so endearing, and Kurt Russell is the same way. He's so endearing in those characters. You're just like, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like, all right, space Kurt Russell. Like, that is totally fine. What's really weird, I have to say, is I was incredibly impressed from a casting perspective how much Pratt and Russell look alike.
Yeah,
like there's a couple moments where they're kind of standing face to face. I'm like, holy shit, whoever picked this casting is kind of perfect. Like I was fine when they were like, oh, Kurt Russell's dead. I was like, all right, like whatever. He's a white guy, whatever. It's fine. But like you really see them side by side. You're like, holy shit, like that is damn good casting. Because like they both have beards and it kind of shapes their face in a similar way. It was just kind of impressive.
Yeah.
I guess last thing to get out of here, again, Micah scores a 3.5, mine's a 4, both out of 5. One of the things I think is really important, and I think it sets a really high bar, not just for Marvel movies, but for movies in general. I have not seen a movie opening quite as good as this one in a long time.
Yeah, very fun.
It is a fun fucking opening. It really stands out. So, look, I really don't have a lot of, besides sort of the biggest problem I had with the movie was sort of the middle, right? Like it was just a little all over the place.
There's one point where one character is literally walking through a museum in order to exposit story. Like that's...
Yeah.
That's not, there's a better way you can do that.
Right. But I will say overall, man, like James Gunn pulled it off again. Marvel hit another one out of the park. I mean, I think it's got
absolutely.
85, 87% or something like that on Rotten Tomatoes. Another not just solid movie, but another damn good movie from Marvel Studios. I mean, it's literally getting to the point where it's much more interesting to talk about like what they got wrong than what they got right, because they get stuff right all the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's another, I would highly recommend it. If you like the first one, you'll love this one too.
Yep.
All right, guys, that's it for us, and we will see you guys next time. I think our next review is going to be on... It's either the new King Arthur movie and Alien Covenant. It might be the same week. So look forward to those, and we will see you guys next time.
See you.
Bye.
That was awesome.